Just now, Azerbaijan has challenged Russia. A general shot down a plane and became a Kremlin favorite. Baku threatens retaliation for the downed aircraft over Aktau. Moscow, get ready. North Ossetia is in fear. Putin is afraid of the SBU. Istanbul is boiling. The geopolitical moves of Ukraine and the Russian Federation have been made. What is being decided behind the scenes?
In Russia, General Alexander Tolopov, who was involved in the downing of the Azerbaijani plane over Grozny, has been promoted. The Russian authorities continue to blatantly spit in the face of some of their main partners from the past, who are now their current enemies.
It's all abundantly clear to us. We definitively know what precisely happened, and we can absolutely prove it. And we also know that the Russian authorities are fully aware of what truly happened. And the pressing question is, why don't they simply do what any reasonable neighbor would naturally do? Our requests or demands are absolutely natural. To admit guilt in this incident, to punish those who fired on our plane, and to pay compensation to the families of the victims, to those who were injured, and to the company Azel to cover their losses.
2 Wagner mercenaries have been arrested in Azerbaijan. They will be tried under the article for mercenarism. The relationship between the formerly friendly countries is literally falling apart before our eyes.
For Russia, there is a major problem overall. Its influence in the Caucasus has now weakened quite noticeably after the Azerbaijani-Armenian conflict, and Armenia has changed the direction of its development and is now increasingly looking toward France. Azerbaijan, for its part, is in even closer allied relations with Ankara. It is obvious that Russia will continue to try by all possible means, political sabotage and hybrid methods to put Azerbaijan in its place.
Meanwhile, a new round of negotiations is beginning in Istanbul. Putin has promoted the head of the negotiating delegation, Medinsky, to the position of chief Kremlin ideologue.
Medinsky can be given any powers, just as they could give them to, say, Ushakov, Patrushev, or anyone else from Putin's inner circle. But the fact remains that apart from Putin, no one makes decisions in Russia. And this status of Medinsky as a dictaphone person is quite logical, and it directly stems from the role that Medinsky performs. He takes messages from Putin, brings them to the negotiations in Turkey, and simply records everything he hears from Ukraine. He is not authorized to make any decisions because everything depends on Putin's vision.
Medinsky is known for his absurd statements, for example, claiming that Russians have an extra chromosome, which in official science is a sign of Down syndrome. In addition, the Kremlin ideologue constantly distorts historical facts.
Entry under the protectorate into the Moscow Tsardom. What kind of reunification? There was no Ukraine. There was no statehood. What is there to talk about? That's why we are assigning all the correct historical assessments here in this case, getting rid of the forced ideologization that gave children false ideas about what really happened.
But those who voice real historical facts in Russia are the real criminals. A court in Moscow has sentenced blogger Dad to 2 months of arrest in absentia for violating the law on foreign agents. The only strange thing is that despite all his statements, he still hasn't been given a real prison term, unlike many others.
It was supposedly a referendum after which Russia announced that the Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson and Zaporizhia regions are now part of the Russian Federation. What is this if not conquest? In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, and after that, it started the war in Donbas. Is it normal to bomb infrastructure, leaving ordinary Ukrainians without heat just before winter? Or is the Russian army to blame for invading foreign territory, getting bogged down there and now not knowing what to do? Maybe it's not Zelensky who's to blame, but the one who dragged the army there?
One of Putin's main allies, Xi Jinping, is already expecting US President Trump to visit this fall. They haven't yet announced what they'll be negotiating or dividing.
Chairman Xi Jinping extended an invitation for me to visit China, and we will most probably undertake this visit in the not-so-distant future. I've been invited by many people, but we'll make this decision fairly soon.
It's obvious that Trump's attempts to build relations with China from a position of strength haven't had any particular success. And it's quite clear that Washington has made more than just one attempt to hold constructive meetings with China. But so far, during Trump's second term, no real progress has been genuinely achieved.
The eccentric decisions of the American president continue. Trump has decided to withdraw the US from UNESCO. Let us recall that the US already left the organization during his previous term.
Further participation in UNESCO does not serve the national interest of the United States. UNESCO actively works on addressing various social and cultural issues that frequently cause significant disagreements. UNESCO's controversial decision to admit the State of Palestine as a full member is extremely problematic, directly contradicts established US policy, and has substantially contributed to the widespread dissemination of anti-Israeli rhetoric within the organization.
The level of threats that exist in the world is incomparable to the fact that the US is leaving an international organization that deals with the protection of historical heritage. In general, his criticism toward NATO, toward other organizations and alliances specifically, European allies looks far more threatening than the US withdrawal from UNESCO.
The world is changing ever more rapidly, and it seems that in this very new reality, more and more countries are focused solely on their own interests, even at the expense of the well-being of the surrounding world.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Aliyev went against Putin. Propaganda is in a frenzy. Skabeyeva is furious. Aliyev put Russia in its place. Popov wiped away his tears. Azerbaijan is no longer a friend. Explosive details watch right now.
The full-scale war, which has now been going on for almost 4 years, is revealing unexpected truths and paradoxes, from the luck of a generation and a liberation that no one asked for, to propaganda stories and endless strikes on infrastructure. But still, why does the Russian person fight? Not because he has to, not because he's defending anything, but because he simply can't not fight. And of course, out of boredom. Life hasn't worked out, the daily routine is dull. So you need a purpose. And as everyone knows, it's easiest to look for meaning in an armored personnel carrier.
So why does a Russian person go to war?
Just out of boredom. You sit there, life goes on, and it just gets tiresome. You sit there with all this, a potato patch, some kind of weeds, and you think, why not go fight? Why don't I go on a campaign with Igor out there to the Polovtsian lands? It would be interesting to see the Polovtsians, to risk my life. Let me go fight. The sun has darkened. Oh, I don't believe it. The sun, I'll go fight. He went and fought. And then there was the Battle of Kulikovo. It's pure pleasure, just to go and fight. Perezvet, after all, was sitting on the stove out of sheer boredom. So they sent him there to fight.
Meanwhile, the Russian Orthodox Church continues to look for someone to blame. They finally diagnosed the cause of family troubles. Women are to blame because they filed for divorce. It all makes sense. If you filed for divorce, then you destroy the family, regardless of the reasons.
Love comes later, or it doesn't come at all. Unfortunately, in most cases here, it doesn't come. Already 70% of marriages end in divorce. It's a catastrophe. Moreover, in 80% of cases, women are to blame. To blame for what? They're the ones filing for divorce. Not men, but women. And why is that? Because women are sensitive souls. Women need chemistry.
Kharkiv region. The Russian army arrives with so-called liberation, but for some reason the local residents give away their positions. They say the equipment is hidden, they tell where it's stashed in the forest, they point out where shots are fired from the village, they pass on coordinates, as if they're not happy, as if they weren't waiting, as if they know themselves who their enemy is and who isn't.
The situation with the civilians there was rather peculiar. So tell me, how exactly did they give you away?
Well, how did they give us away? I saw a woman, a girl with a child, together with a young man, probably her husband, pointing with a finger, showing where the guys were hiding, you know, the Russians.
Why?
That's just what they wanted to do.
Nikita Sergeyevich Mikhalkov, a people's philosopher and, as it turns out, a potential methodologist on patriotism, expressed mild bewilderment. Why, he wondered, aren't his programs used in school lessons called conversations about important things?
Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin knows about Besogun and told me that it's a very powerful weapon. What happened? Two scenarios emerged. One scenario is without Besogun, and the other scenario is at the discretion of the teachers. If they want to show it, they do. If they don't, they don't. I have no ambitions in this regard. But as it turns out, you can be heard by the president.
In the fourth year of the war, something unexpected became clear. A gold Aeroflot card doesn't guarantee a flight to Venice if it's morning at Domodedovo, there's a siren, and drone debris on the runway. How many years can you live next to a war but not in it? And suddenly it turned out there is normal distance. Everything is much closer now, not just on the screen, but outside the window, not somewhere out there, but right here.
My tickets from Istanbul to Venice disappear. 3 tickets. Now, for each ticket, they're asking for an extra $980. It's the same thing, yes. Exactly the same thing. What is going on? There should at least be some information.
Well, now everything is clear. Russia wants Ukraine to cease to exist as a state. There was no denazification, no demilitarization, no desire to save Ukrainians dreaming of becoming part of a greater Russia.
What exactly do we want? We want Ukraine as a sovereign state to cease to exist, for its entire military potential to be completely destroyed, and for the political class that has always turned any Ukrainian state into an anti-Russia entity to disappear as well. For these people to leave, I don't know, let me put it gently, to emigrate somewhere or just go far away.
There was only one motive: to destroy, to subjugate, to erase from the map.
So that from Ukraine for decades and centuries to come, it would never again be possible to create another anti-Russia. That is our goal. And if there is an opportunity to strike, we strike. If there is an opportunity to destroy military potential, we destroy it. Let them be a little afraid of us. They've gotten too relaxed over there.
Director Konstantin Bogomolov, known for his postmodern productions and marriage to Ksenia Sobchak, has once again shaken up the media space. Though this time it was in a metaphysical sense. In an interview, Bogomolov stated,
I think that what happened 3 years ago has so radically changed the environment we live in, that in a certain sense, well, it's the fortune of our generation that we find ourselves in this historical period, which forces us to talk about the essential things.
Well, indeed, for some it's war, and for others it's a reason for deep reflection in mention on Rublievka.